Welcome to The Power Behind the Beauty. I'm Shannor, and this podcast is about what we admire but rarely stop to understand. We live in a world that celebrates outcomes, the finished product, the polished results, the moment everything looks effortless. But we don't talk about is the work what happens long before the moment. Beauty is not accidental, excellent is not random, and what lasts is almost always built with intention. This podcast exists to talk about that part, the discipline, the structure, the decisions, and the mindset behind what people see and admire. If you ever cared about how things are built, not just about how they look, you're in the right place. When we talk about beauty or excellence, it's easy to assume it comes from talent, taste, or inspiration. And while other things matter, they're rarely what sustains the outcome. What actually carries excellence over time is structure. It's discipline, it's boundaries, it's the willingness to make decisions that aren't always visible, celebrated, or immediately rewarded. And in this first episode, I want to slow down and talk about that. Not in theory, but in practice. What it really takes to build something that looks effortless on the outside, but is anything but on the inside. One of the most important lessons I've learned is that a rehearsal, or at the very least, a structured run through, is not optional. A rehearsal gives the planner and the coordinator the opportunity to meet the wedding party, the parents, and any family members who play a significant role in that day. It creates clarity around who is who needs attention, and how people move together. When that doesn't happen, everything has to be figured out in real time on the wedding day. And that's when things become unnecessarily stressful. The coordinator is expected to manage people they've never met. Families assume everyone knows their roles, and the small moments turn into avoidable confusion. What looks like a simple decision, skipping a rehearsal, often creates the very chaos people assume just happens. In reality, is structure that keeps the day calm, respectful, and seamless. After this, you can naturally ask a reflective question like, where else do we skip structure and then blame the outcome? What this taught me is that we often underestimate preparation because it isn't visible. We assume that if it looks simple, then it must be simple. But calm is usually the result of clarity, not luck. Rehearsals, system, and structure don't exist to complicate things. They exist to protect people, moments, and relationships. And when we skip them, we don't actually save time or effort. We just shift the cost to the moment when pressure is already high. That pattern shows up everywhere in business, in leadership, in life. We resist structure, but still expect excellence. And what I've learned is that those two things don't coexist without intention. This is why this podcast exists, not to critique outcomes, but to name the process behind them. We don't talk enough about the decisions, preparation, and discipline required to make things look seamless. We celebrate the moment, but rarely respect what made the moment possible. The power behind the beauty is a space to slow that down, to talk honestly about what sustains excellence, not just what displays it. Because when we understand the work, we stop being surprised by the results. As this podcast continues, these conversations will expand into leadership, professionalism, faith, boundaries, and the systems that allow people and projects to thrive. Not everything needs to be loud to be powerful, and not everything that looks simple actually is. My hope is that this space reminds you to respect the process, whether you're building a business, planning a moment, or leading people, because what lasts is really accidental. Thank you for listening. I'm glad you're here. And remember, beauty isn't accidental, it's built with intention.